So quadrille, I looked it up. I had to look it up because when I hear quadrille, I think it's a dance because there's a type of square dance called a quadrille. But anyway, I looked it up. It's a card game played with 40 cards. Became very popular at this period of time in the mid 1800s in England, and it gets mentioned here. It gets mentioned in Pride and Prejudice. It gets mentioned, and so it's a card game. Mr. Woodhouse, Emma's dad is just he just likes things simple, and he doesn't like to do much, and he likes to have people around. So he because he doesn't want to go out because he's worried about going out. He has the people come in, and I don't like people coming in. That's not a me thing. It's like, okay, I'll go out, I'll meet you. Happily meet people on neutral territory. There's some place that's not mine, not theirs. Sure, tell me when and where, I'll be there. Um, have someone over? No, I don't. I don't know. I not not me. And they once again get into him and food, and he is eating this thin gruel, which is okay. Gruel is a soup-ish. Usually it's like flour and water, maybe a little butter, and maybe a little bit of meat or whatever, and you cook it, and it thickens up a little bit. Think really runny oatmeal. Except not necessarily oat. Sometimes it's wheat, sometimes it's corn. It's just, but it's a very thin grain based soup that doesn't really have much to it. And that's his idea of an ideal meal. And then it goes into the apple tarts. Oh, we have apples, so you don't have to worry about those preserves. Now, preserves are fruit preserves. When you take food and you preserve it, it's often called preserves, and preserves in general refers to usually fruit. My mom used to make strawberry preserves. And essentially, what you do is you take the fruit, you cut it up, you mix in a bunch of sugar, and you cook it. And it just kind of falls apart. It's not quite to a jam, so it's a little bit thicker than a jam. So, if you're to take a look at the category of sweet food things, you have jelly, which has like no solids and is like solidly it has no particulate solids. It has no little bits of fruit in it. It's a liquid which has been congealed with pectin into a jelly, like jello. So that's jelly. So there's no solids in it. It's usually translucent, so light can go through it. Then you have a jam. And jam has bits of fruit. And then you have preserves that have more fruit and more recognizable fruit.
What about a marmalade?
Marmalade as well. Marmalade is includes the skin and rinds. So you usually see it as like orange marmalade. Um, Apple butter fits into that category. Apple butter is really cooked down applesauce. Great stuff. It's kind of a dark brown because the sugars start to caramelize because it gets cooked down so much. But so, you have these different categories, and he's like, okay, we have good apple tarts. And so often with an apple tart, you take an apple, you slice it, and you arrange the slices on a bit of pastry, and then you bake that. And maybe put in a little bit of sugar, a little bit of cinnamon is good. But it's a fairly simple thing. Not sweet, not rich like a custard would be. Now, custards are cool. There's a lot of cooking that is really just sort of custard. So, custard is a combination of milk or cream and eggs. And you take the milk and the cream and the eggs and you mix them up. And then you cook it slowly. And what happens is the proteins in the milk and the proteins in the eggs, they all sort of just lock up. And this, as they lock up, they form a solid that's soft. It's a soft solid, like pudding. So when Americans talk about pudding, they're usually referring to a custard. When the British talk about pudding, they mean dessert in general. Anyway, so you have this milk and this egg mixture. And one of the recipes that Lolly and I take to potlucks when we get invited over to people's houses is a corn casserole. And if you're to go look at the recipe, that is actually a custard with corn in it. But it's a corn casserole. And it's not sweet, it's more savory, but still you have the milk and the eggs and you cook it and it sets up. French toast. French toast, you take a piece of bread and you soak it in a mixture of milk and eggs. So essentially French toast is bread custard. Bread pudding. Bread pudding. Bread pudding is the same thing, except instead of frying it, you bake it. So you take this custard base and you mix in bits of bread and bits of fruit and bits of nuts and bits of chocolate and bits of sugar and bits of all sorts of other tasty things. And you get everything soaked up in this and you put it in a pan and you bake it. And what happens is because you're baking it and it has all of the bread in it, it slowly cooks the custard and that sets up and that kind of holds everything together because the bread is all dried out, but the custard kind of holds it together and it rejuicifies it. It revivifies. That's it. The custard revivifies the stale bread. Revivify means to bring back to life. Rehydrates. Yeah, it rehydrates it too. But I like revivify. That's fun to say. And how many words have two V's? Revivify. Anyway, so we also meet the young Miss Smith. This makes Emma happy because most of the rest of the circle are older. You have the Mrs. Bates, who's like in her 80s. Her daughter, Miss Bates, who takes care of her, who's like in her 50s. Mrs. Goddard, the mistress of the school, who's like in her 60s. And here you have Emma, who is 21. And now she has a friend, or she has the possibility of a friend, Miss Smith, who is young and pretty. And Emma is going to remake her in her image, or at least that's Emma's plan. Emma is like, I'm going to have a mini-me. So we'll see how that goes.